Good morning, Sylvia. Sorry to wake you up so early. Probably can't see my face because it's still dark here. I've got backlight. But we're getting an early start because I want to get some drone video today. And I can't do that if the wind is very high. And today's going to be a windy day. So if I get out early before the heat of the day, I might be able to capture some drone video. So again, sorry for waking you up, but we need to go. It's probably 47. It's about 6:30 in the morning. So let's go. Yeah, I forgot to say this is day 5 of our adventure. There's a rest area on I-80 just a few miles up the road that overlooks something called Ofallons Bluffs, and that's where the Platte River forced the traffic between the river and some bluffs, so it concentrated the traffic. These wagons, I've read that the dust could be several inches thick, and so in areas where they would spread out in a wide area to try not to go right behind one another because of the dust. But there are some places where, like river crossings, Fords, the place I'm going to, where all the traffic was forced into a narrow area, and supposedly you can see ruts or swales from this overlook at the rest area. The sun will soon be up, and I had to backtrack about a mile to get back to the rest area I want to visit. And I talked to a guy in the motel parking lot this morning before I left, and he said had I been here a week ago, I would have been snowed in, stuck at the motel. So let's see if we can see these ruts or swales. There may not be enough light. It's going to be another gorgeous day. I'm at Ofallons Bluff. It's a rest area on East I-80, just west of North Platte, Nebraska. The reason that we can see the wagon swales here, as I said earlier, the bluff narrowed the width between the bluffs and the river that they could travel. Thousands of wagons, they eroded the land and made these swales. Here's another marker with some deeper swales. Wow, very nice. And right here is one of the main ones, and they've got brick in the concrete to kind of show you the wagon wheels. And so the swale goes on down there. So they would have come up, this is uphill, so going west, they would have come, let me do my finger this way. They would have, you can't see it, but they would come around and right through this swale, and there's another one right there. I think you can make it out in the GoPro. And if I just turn around, it's not as obvious, but it just continues right through here. So there's one there. If I step over a few feet, oh, right here, they got the brick again in the walk right here. There's a swale there. And then where I just came from, just swale there. So our next stop is a place called California Hill. There's supposed to be some ruts of swales there, so I'm looking forward to that one. Another miscalculation on my part. I wanted to go to California Hill and get some drone video, and I've been on some rough roads, but I have not been on one this rough. There's snow in the distance there in the road, so California Hill is not going to happen. I'm at Windlass Hill, where the immigrants of the Oregon-California Trail descended down the steep hill into Ash Hollow. And again, shoot the GoPro, you can't see it, but there are definitely ruts up around the hill. So the legend of Windlass Hill is probably just interesting folktale created during later years. There's no evidence that was ever used, but they did use something. Here's a wheel brake. This locked the wheel and let the wagon slide down the mountain. This says that this ravine started as a set of wagon ruts cut in the grass and soil. Of course, it's eroded more since then. You certainly can see down around there. Turn around. Wow. I made it to the top of the hill. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too windy to get the drone out. But oh, what a view. That's looking northwest there. That's the direction they were traveling to. A little bit of snow here and there. And that's looking east, the direction they were coming from. My motorcycle's down in there. There's one set of ruts that go up the hill. I think I'm pointing in the right spot, roughly in there somewhere. And another set that go up the hill there. And those are supposed to be the original ruts from the wagons going west. The official Oregon Trail marker. And if you like such a thing, I took a 360 photo, and that will be on the website retirementantics.com. Just look for the Day 5 blog. Here's the gully created by all the wagons coming down the hill, sliding down the hill. And here's the sign that says it's the trail. This place is just a little bit crowded. My kind of traveling. Okay, our next stop has nothing to do with the Oregon Trail, I don't think. It's a place that the boys and I stopped in 2007, and Lori and Tucker and I think in 2012. Well, I don't think I found the exact same boot that I have in the two photos that I have taken over the years. I forgot to punch in the GPS coordinates so I could go to the exact boot, but it's one of these right through here. Anyway, I don't know what the story is. I don't know if it's just some redneck thing or it's got some practical purpose, but we kind of got a kick out of these boots when we came through here in 2007, and then I had to make a point to stop here again. The next time I was through here, can't seem to find the exact same boot that I have the photo of. Oh well, it's just kind of funny. Why would you put your boots on fence posts? Does it protect the top of the post so it doesn't rot? I don't know. This is the Ash Hollow State Historical Park. Ford the stream here. Oh, it is a little stream. I was joking, but this is like a low water, ford. Well, this has got nothing to do with the Oregon Trail, but I thought it would be pretty neat to stop and check out. Built the schoolhouse in 1903, lasted until 1919, and anywhere from 5 to 12 students attended. Chalkboard along the front. Oh, they got a piano, teacher's desk, a pot-bellied stove, 3 or 4 students' desks. They're double wide. You'd have 2 students sitting side by side. And I want to check this out. Yeah, they've got it screwed together. Can't open it. Anyway, oh well. Outhouse with windows. How about that? Sign over here says that the immigrants, a lot of them wrote in their diaries and journals about how Ash Hollow was very pleasant, like a park. You hear the birds singing, and there were fruit trees, and just a pleasant place to stop. So this tells us a little more about Ash Hollow. It's named for a growth of ash trees. It's usually stopped for a period of rest and refitting. An abandoned trapper's cabin served as an unofficial post office where letters were deposited to be carried to the States by eastbound travelers. And the graves of Rachel Pattison and other immigrants are in the nearby cemetery. I'm going to try to stop at that cemetery. But the Ash Hollow Cemetery, and this is related to the Oregon Trail. Rachel Pattison was an 18-year-old bride of 2 months on her way to Oregon when cholera took her life here in 1849. Her trailside grave was the beginning of this pioneer cemetery. And she's supposed to be up around the flagpole up there, so let's go take a look. Rachel Pattison. Nathan and Rachel were married April 3rd, 1849 in Randolph County, Illinois. And 1 week later, they left to take the trail to Oregon. They were traveling with a bunch of family members. She got sick in the morning and died that night. This is her original headstone. I like how they've enclosed it behind glass so it doesn't continue to erode and people don't destroy it. Look at the 4 on the top, 1849. The 4 is backwards. She was 18 years old. And here's a marker. And that's the thing about cholera. I've read over and over that you could get sick in the morning and be dead before sunset. and I think it was called Asiatic cholera, and I think there were bad outbreaks in 49, 50, like 52, and there was a risk of cholera until you got up around, I think, Fort Laramie in Wyoming, and by then I would imagine that the water was running faster, closer to the source. It wasn't stagnant, and there's more volume of water. No one understood at that time about germs. The medical profession didn't know about germs and bacteria, and people didn't really understand that you can't poop where you drink. And so cholera was the biggest killer, I think. And amazingly, the other major killer was accidents, because people could not ride in the wagon because of the weight limit on the wagon. Everyone walked, and sometimes you might need something out of the wagon, and you step on the tongue of the wagon or try to climb on the side of the wagon, slip and fall, and the wagon would run over you. That caused many deaths. And then, believe it or not, gunshot wounds. A lot of these people were from further east and not really familiar with handling guns, and they had heard about the Indians and that they needed to protect themselves, and they brought guns and really didn't know how to handle them, and a lot of people died by gunshot wounds. This is a monument for the Battle of Blue Water. It happened on September 3rd, 1855. But before I get to that, this all started with something called Grattan's Massacre, and the story there is that a detachment of soldiers entered a large Sioux encampment to arrest a man accused of taking a migrant's cow, although these types of things were supposed to be handled by treaty through the Indian agent. So one of the soldiers shot a chief, and the Lakotas returned fire and killed a total of 29 soldiers, including Lieutenant John Grattan and a civilian interpreter. The soldiers should not have been there anyway, and 29 of them got killed, and an Indian chief. So the U.S. Army, in its infinite wisdom, sent a 600-man expedition September 3rd, 1855, a year later, and they were here to avenge the Grattan Massacre. So Colonel Harney determined that the more than 250 Indians camped here in Blue Creek were the guilty parties. So he divided his force and led the infantry towards the village. So while Harney engaged the Indians in a parley as a delaying tactic, the mounted troops circled to the north, and they opened fire with their new long-range rifles and forced the Indians to flee toward the mounted soldiers, who inflicted terrible casualties. 86 Indians were killed, 70 women and children were captured, and their teepees were looted. Now this happened in 1855, and it's one of the reasons for the 1863-64 war between the two nations. All over a stinking cow. Sylvia needs a little go-go juice. Silvia and I are at Jail and Courthouse Rocks, and these are land formations that made a natural landmark. I forget why they're named that. You can look it up if you want to. I was here in 2007 with the boys. We drug an RV up this dirt road, and I haven't been back since then. It's not too windy today, so I'm going to get my drone out and see what kind of video I could get of Courthouse and Jail Rocks. One last look before we go.
at another famous landmark along the Oregon, Mormon, California Pony Express trails, and it's Chimney Rock. It was another major landmark that the immigrants looked forward to. Now, the Mormons at this point were still north of the Platte River, so they saw it from a distance and didn't get too close to it. Now, the other trails, the Oregon, the California Pony Express, they came close to this landmark. And imagine seeing this thing from 6 or 8 miles away and knowing you had more than half a day of traveling before you got to it. Because I saw it about that far away and got here in a few minutes, but imagine just looking at it for half a day, just getting closer slowly, hour by hour. Hey Sylvia, you better look out for this guy. The visitor center is only open on Saturday and Sundays, and this is a park that you have to pay to get into. And I was hoping they would be open because I've got a lifetime national park pass. When you reach the age of 62, you can buy a pass, for one time, pay a one-time fee, and it's good for the rest of your life. I wanted to use it, but not today. Okay, I think the next stop will be Scotts Bluff. I'm at Scotts Bluff National Monument. Another one of those landmarks that the immigrants used to know that they were on the right track, which they knew they were on the right track. But it's one of the landmarks that they looked forward to because there were guidebooks that described the trail, where the springs were, fords for the rivers, even had estimated miles between each point. So they either had a guidebook or they knew people that had a guidebook, so they knew to expect to see some of these landmarks. But no doubt it had to be pretty neat to actually see them for real after hearing about them. And some of these things don't compare to what they might have seen in Missouri, Arkansas, or any place east. This would be like a completely different country. Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh, that's a neat photo. Nope, we got another one. Oh, it's a little cooler in here. I'm sure you can't see anything, but this is a very nice view from the top of Scotts Bluff, looking pretty much north, I think, here. This says that Hiram Scott, employee of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, died in the vicinity of this bluff in 1828 after being deserted by his companions near the junction of the Laramie and North Platte rivers. Abandoned in 1828. There's probably a story there, but I don't know what it is. Seems like I can see to the curvature of the earth. Here's a nice little shady spot. I think I'll sit here for a minute and contemplate the view and cool off a bit. The last time I was here was 2000, 23 years ago. Tucker was 4 years old, Bradley was 6, and we were on a 2-week camping trip with our first travel trailer. And I convinced my mom and dad to come with us. I told them I needed a cook and a spare driver. And we had a good time. It's funny what you remember after 23 years. I'm pretty sure I've got a picture of Bradley or Tucker on this right here, trying to con someone out of a quarter or a nickel or a dime or whatever it was then, so they could take a look. If I can find it, I'll include it. Well, that's not something you see in Raleigh, North Carolina. That thing takes up 2 lanes of the highway. It's funny. Oh, he's gonna let me around.
you.